Hey guys, welcome. Mark here for Animus Empire. This week we're talking about denial. One of the scariest things in the world, so I can't even look at it. Because not only does denial mean you're out of touch with reality, but you're out of touch with the fact that you're out of touch. You don't know, and you don't know that you don't know, which is what makes denial especially tricky. But there are signs of it, there's fingerprints of it, and I think when we understand it and how it relates to getting in touch with our latent emotions, then we can set ourselves up to really manage it in a healthy way. First thing though, there's 4 parts of denial. And it lines up perfectly with there's 3 parts of the emotional diagram, but you do the third one long enough, you get to 4. The first one, a mature kind of denial, this is called suppression. This is when you're in a sales meeting and you feel anxious, as I'm sure happens when you're in a sales meeting, but you don't say that you're anxious. You feel the anxiety and you go, oh, I'm feeling this. You're not denying it, but you also think, well, I'm not going to talk about this right now. Probably not the best sales technique to go around talking about how anxious you are all the time. So you're still in touch with the anxiety, but you know, hey, I'm not going to say that in this situation. Chinese and Koreans are the best at doing this. And then the immature kind of denial down here, this is repression. A little bit more serious. So if this is being in a sales meeting going, oh, I feel anxious and I'm not going to talk about this right now. Repression is, oh man, I've been anxious. I've had social anxiety for the last 15 years and it's kind of ruined my life actually. I haven't had relationships because of it. I've been held back at work because of it. You're partially conscious, partially unconscious of it. And here our line of consciousness or unconsciousness. Glass is half full or half empty, depending on how optimistic you are. You're sort of aware of the anxiety, but not really. And whenever you do think about it, it's like, oh, this is really painful. But you still don't talk about it. So this is repression. You could almost think of it as a more severe form of repression, but that's not exactly right. It's an uncomfortable suppression. And if you do this long enough, then it leads to the third thing here. This is neurotic. I'll write this down. And when it comes to denial, what happens is you act out. So this is the partier, the drinker who thinks, oh, I like partying and drinking a lot because I just like having a good time. Now, I'm not saying that partying and drinking is always wrong, but if you suppress long enough, you will begin to repress, or you suppress long enough without talking about it, you will begin to repress, then you will become neurotic and you will act out on unconscious pain because you're distracting yourself from the pain. That's what addiction is. Addiction isn't somebody who likes to have fun all the time. Maybe that's how they will present, that's the persona, but ultimately what's going on is they are distracting themselves from pain. Big difference between an increase in pleasure and a decrease in pain. And that's what addiction is a decrease in pain. And then you do this long enough, do number 3 long enough, and you'll get to number 4. See that down there? And this is psychosis, and this is denial. So the difference between neuroses and psychoses is neurosis is when you're out of touch with yourself. You do that long enough, you will end up being psychotic, which is being out of touch with reality. That's what denial is. A great movie that demonstrates or that portrays denial really well is The Shining. Shelley Duvall's character, Wendy. That is somebody who is in a lot of denial. A lot of denial of Jack's problems, of Jack's mental problems, of the abuse that Jack has given to Danny. It's even intimated that Jack sexually abused Danny. And how she acts. She is, always agreeable, always having fun, always trying to make good and be positive and put on this face, but she's out of touch with what's going on with her husband. Then there's Jack, who is, what's he doing the entire movie? He's just typing, all work and no play make Jack a dull boy. He is disconnected, and he's even seems incongruent. We'll get to incongruence here, but he seems incongruent in he's not part of the relationship between Wendy and Danny. He is out of touch. I'm especially thinking of the scene when they're driving up to the Overlook Hotel, when the whole family is. It's like Jack isn't even there. He's saying something to Danny that Wendy wouldn't even think of saying. Then there's Danny. Both of his parents are out of touch with reality, so he becomes schizophrenic in a way, and it pushes out this part of him, this imaginary friend Tony, who can shine, who has this clairvoyant capability. But all that's a symbol of is awareness. Your parents are out of touch, so you almost develop this adaptive mechanism called Tony, this little guy who lives in your mouth that can be aware, symbolized with the shining. So how can we manage? How can we manage denial? If we don't even know that we're doing it, how can we even get at it? Well, the first thing is to look at the signs of it. So, yeah. And there's two overarching signs of denial. The first one is incongruence. This is, like the driving up to the Overlook Hotel, Jack and Wendy at the beginning of the movie. It's like you're not really a part of reality, so you'll get fired from a job and you won't really know why. People's emotional reactions to you will constantly seem like they're out of whack. Like, why are you getting so angry at me? I don't understand. Now, if that happens once or twice, maybe that's their problem. But if it keeps happening over and over, then the problem is probably with you. You're out of touch with something going on. If your emotional reactions are overblown, are more severe than what the situation necessitates. People who are in denial, they constantly think that people are teaming up against them, like there's some sort of conspiracy, and you do this long enough, you will get some sort of paranoia. Just not feeling like you're really part of the environment. It's because you're out of touch with the environment. And that's the thing with denial is whatever you want to do, whatever you want in this life, I'm guessing if you're a woman, it's a lot of money and a man. And if you're a man, it's a lot of money and a woman. Well, it's going to be very difficult to get those things unless you're in touch with reality, with the divine, correcting nature of reality, your God ultimately. So incongruence, that's one. And the other one is positivity. Really, Wendy at the beginning of the movie. Oh, I'm always happy, I'm always having a good time, blah, 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 because you're trying to distract yourself from the truth, which is your husband's a psycho case. And this is the problem with positive psychology, because they want you to turn away from your sadness. Oh, why does psychology have to be about figuring out your sadness or anxiety? Let's figure out what makes you happy and work on that. Well, it inevitably leads to denial. And you talk to a positive psychologist about this, and they say, well, we never say to deny anything. Right, but if you put the people in a structure in which they're only really allowed, or they're rewarded for only talking about what makes them happy, then it inevitably leads to denial. Also, it makes a dichotomy between down here and up here, like they're disconnected. No, you work on latent sadness, latent OCD anxiety to become happy, if that's the word you want to give to it, to become an effective person in the environment. And really this gives us an insight into the nature of denial. Is it's not about doing one thing or another. It's not about, just incorporate this technique and you're gonna overcome your denial. It's more pernicious than that, or denial is more pernicious than that. It's about submitting yourself to a structure of your emotions that you can work with, and through the submission to this structure, you will be much less likely to commit denial. I mean, look at what's going on right now with the Catholic Church. Happened 15 years ago, now another pedophilia scandal is happening. Why do they keep getting these pedophilia scandals? Is it because the Catholic Church is evil? Well, I don't know. I'll start a YouTube channel about philosophy, then we need to start using words like evil. But this is a YouTube channel about psychology, so we don't use words like that. I don't think it's because they're evil necessarily. But the Catholic Church has a certain structure. I'd go into this a little bit more in my podcast this past week. They have a certain structure that naturally leads to there being pedophilia scandals. I mean, priests, even who aren't pedophiles, are rewarded in a sense. They are implicitly rewarded for covering up pedophilia. So I don't care what sort of code, I don't care what the Catholic Church tells itself and say, oh, we're going to do this now to crack down on pedophilia. If you don't change the structure of the church, then you are going to keep getting some serious problems. And that's how it works with you. It's not about doing one thing or another. Oh, you feel incongruence? Well, just do this one thing. No, you feel incongruence, you're in denial, you submit yourself to a certain structure of going to group, creating attachments, meditating, asking yourself, what am I avoiding? What do I need? Grassroots meditation, not the top-down bureaucratic meditation. Submitting yourself to a process, understanding that you push stuff down naturally, so you need to submit yourself to a process to keep the latent emotions conscious above this line of consciousness, and then you're much less likely to be in denial. I mean, everybody's in denial about something, but it's just about how do we minimize that? And that's really something that we need to understand about denial and about psychology in general, and what CBT constantly gets wrong is because they think the problem is on the surface. The problem is almost never on the surface. Now, sometimes you need to look at the surface to get to the deeper problem. I mean, your psychology, if you have serious forms of denial at least, the problem is a lot like clearing out a crawl space. Now, you can't really see what the problem is at the end, and it may be something serious, like maybe you were Danny at one point and your dad was Jack, but you can't get to that. All you can do is look at the first layer. What is the first layer? Now you work on that. That could be something you're avoiding. That could be recognizing, oh, this is a need that has gone unmet in my life, and I feel like this overall sense of sadness because of it. So you work on that first layer, and you keep working on these layers until you get to, oh yeah, I was Danny in The Shining. I remember that. That was a repressed memory. It doesn't really happen. There are not a lot of repressed memories. I mean, it happens, but that's off topic. This is denial, guys. It's about the structure through which we can manage denial. And this is going to come up in other defense mechanisms too when I discuss them, but it's most prevalent in denial. But that's it for this week. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Please like and subscribe. More importantly, though, talk about this. I don't care. Just pretend all these ideas are yours. That's fine as long as you keep talking. We're going to be back next week, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I cannot believe I made it through an entire video about denial without making that annoying river in Egypt joke.